Guys, let's talk about Max Holloway and Charles Oliveira. I mean, with Ilya taking a step back, all of a sudden, we're looking at the winner of that fight potentially might fight later in 2026 against the winner of Patty and Justin. This is going to make this division very interesting. We know how Uncle Dana feels about Armin. I'm very curious what is going to happen with him. He had a very impressive win over Dan Hooker, as we know, in 2025, late 2025. And then the question is, what do you do at the 155s, obviously? Um, we know we have a lot of guys in the back of the line, Gamrot, BSD. I mean, guys, what do we think about a BSD fight versus Armin? I mean, I think that's another good fight to put on the books. Knowing Uncle Dana, he's going to put the winner of Charles and Max versus more than likely Patty the Batty in 2026. That's going to get Paramount on subscriptions, I'm sure. Curious your guys' take on that. Just very interesting to see what's happening at the 155s. And not to mention, as we know, a lot of these weight classes are also starting to open up. But we talk about the flyweight division. I mean, it's in a similar situation, at least in the sense that two dominant or perceived dominant champions are no longer in the mix. And you can kind of say that for a couple of weight classes, right? Probably say that for the bantamweight class as well. I mean, who would have thought Marab would not end 2025 as the champion of that weight class either? Obviously, there's a lot of movement in these divisions, makes 2026 for a very interesting year. Will a lot of our newly crowned champions remain in their top spots, or will we see some of these divisions have constant movement, a la light heavyweight during John Jones' retirement and then subsequent move to heavyweight? I mean, if we look at Joshua Van, he's probably going to face Manel Kape later on in the year. That's going to be a banger. Tatsuro Taira had a great win over Brandon Moreno. And, obviously Roy Val just lost. So, I mean, that's the fight to make. But we have Amir Albazi, looming there. And I mean, right now, there's a couple of guys down there, but, it looks like this is going to be, I mean, can you imagine if we run into another situation where we have a trilogy? Now, hear me out on the flyweights. Manel Kape and Joshua Van, they're both scrappers. They're both gonna, they're gonna strike. There's a striker's delight right there. Can you imagine if Manel Kape takes the belt? I mean, are we gonna have another Brandon Moreno and situation and what's my guy's name, and Figueroa and Figgy situation, a Brandon Moreno Figgy situation all over again? Can you imagine that? I mean, they can single-handedly save that division. And then imagine if they have one or two fights or three fights or just bangers, right? Yeah, at least two fights. And then all of a sudden, enter Alexandre Pantoja. Can Pantoja come back? And he seems like the type of guy that's going to want to come back into the mix. I mean, gave props to Joshua Van while his arm or elbow was broken or dislocated again, and still said, "Hey, he won fair and square, but I know I could have choked him out." So, I mean, he's one of those guys that I could see coming back. Is he going to be 100%? Is he going to be back to the old Pantoja? We don't know, and it's more than likely that he isn't. But do you need to be Pantoja at 100% to dominate the flyweight division the way you have? Hmm, to be determined. And then let's look at another interesting weight class, Bantamweight. What the heck is going to happen there? People are saying should be a Marab Peter rematch. I don't know if Uncle Dana is going to make that fight, quite frankly. And we have a couple of we have Sean O'Malley and Sonya Don coming up. Again, 2026, new TV contract, TV rights contract, or streaming contract. I don't see how Dana doesn't put Sean O'Malley in there with Peter Yan later in the year. And say what you will, I saw that fight, very back and forth fight. I mean, I could easily have given they could have easily given the fight to Peter, but Sean won that battle on the scorecards. I could see that happening. What about Figgy? I mean, Davidson's fighting Umar. That could also be another title eliminator. How do you deny Umar, ranked number 2, if he beats Figgy? And then do you give Figgy a chance if he dominates Umar, which I don't see that happening, but we've seen crazier things in the UFC. And then what do you do with Rob? Do you tell Rob, hey, you got 5 checks this year, or 4 checks this year. Just chill out for a little bit. Let me make some money on this deal, right? So very interesting to see what will happen in that division as well. I mean, right now, again, bantamweight, flyweight, and you know, and the lightweight seem to be some of the most interesting divisions right now, just given the fact that we have a lot of contenders, right? We have a lot of contenders. We have newly mint champions there. Um, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Those are the 3 divisions I'm looking forward to seeing what will happen throughout the 2026 calendar year, right? Not to say that, middleweight, welterweight, um, heavyweight, heck, light heavyweight, and the women's divisions. Not to say those aren't interesting, but right now, I mean, those are the 3 divisions that interest me the most. Curious on your guys' thoughts, your take on this, but we could end 2026 with easily 5 or 6 new champions. This is going to be. I feel like there's a lot of parity in the UFC, especially in some of these divisions. So leave your comment, give a like, subscribe. Thanks. Take care. Sunrise MMA out.